Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being before us today. Let's see if we can clarify for the American people. Mr. Jones and Mr. Maltz, I'm going to go to you in my limited time. Mr. Jones, confirm, please, your former title in law enforcement. We have here you're former captain of intelligence and counterterrorism with Texas Department of Public Safety. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
So you have a great deal of expertise in law enforcement, do you not?
Yes, sir.
You're a resident of Texas?
Yes, sir.
You know what's going on down there, don't you, brother?
Yes, sir.
Roger that. Mr. Maltz, according to my information, you're a former special agent in charge of Special Operations Division with the Drug Enforcement Administration and DEA. Is that correct, sir?
That's
You
correct.
have a long history in law enforcement, do you
Yes,
not?
sir.
Where do you live, sir?
I live in Virginia now.
Well, congratulations, living off of the border. You spent a lot of time down there in DEA operations, did you not?
Absolutely, yes,
You know
sir.
what's going on down there?
Yes, sir.
Let's get to it, shall we? Since President Biden was inaugurated and made perhaps the poorest decision in the history of poor decisions by hiring Secretary Mayorkas to enact his policy, because although Secretary Mayorkas has a great deal of expertise, as you gentlemen do as well, he has the added responsibility as a secretary to advise the president if the president's policies are injurious to America. And once those policies have been demonstrated to be clearly injurious to our country, the secretary further, reflective of his oath, has a responsibility to step away from that administration if the president does not abide by his advice when the president's policies that the secretary is enacting are clearly hurting our country. And they absolutely are. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you a little bit about cartels' access to our country. You both have conducted United States operations in and with Mexico, have you not?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Jones, yes? Mr. Small?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes and yes. The United States operations in Mexico, must they follow United States law and be organized with the Mexican government and Mexican law enforcement? Mr.
Yes, sir.
Jones?
Yes, sir.
Yes and yes, of course. So we have operations in Mexico, law enforcement operations in Mexico, but we have to follow the law, do we not?
Right,
And
and
it
if I
has to
may
be-
add, the best example is that is the unified operation to capture Chapo Guzman on 2 occasions, working with the Mexican Marines. And they did the operation, not the U.S. They went out and they grabbed them. They had the courage to do it.
Understood. I like your spirit. So let's compare that to the cartels. Gentlemen, do you consider it a true statement that the cartels have gained unprecedented access and networking within the United States of America? Mr.
Yes.
Jones?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen this increase incredibly over the last 2 years, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maltz?
Yes.
Roger that. Do they have to follow our laws?
No way.
Absolutely not.
There's no fear. They're not
They
going to go
have-
to jail.
They have unfettered access to the communities of America, and they traffic in 2 things, drugs and human beings. And this administration has accommodated their efforts. Oh, how can you say that, Congressman Higgins? Well, let me give you an example. We've spoken a great deal about technology on the border. My colleagues across the aisle stated, we don't want a wall, walls, old tech. We don't need a barrier system. We have technology. Okay. First of all, that's in denial of the fact that a physical barrier is part of a security system that includes physical barriers to deter and delay an attempted criminal crossing or trafficking of human beings and drugs into our country. And secondly, let's talk about the technology. Much has been said about drones being used. We have technology on the border, was requested by law enforcement on the border during the Trump administration, approved by Congress, funds appropriated, contracts arranged for, to detect and take down cartel drones. That's called the detection and mitigation capabilities of our anti-drone tech deployed on the border. Called the defensive and offensive operations of that anti-drone tech. Somewhere Since Secretary Mayorkas has been in charge, and I promise you we will find the smoking gun. Since Secretary Mayorkas has been in charge, the offensive capabilities or the mitigating capabilities of that anti-drone tech has been suppressed. Mr. Chairman, my time has expired, but my passion has not. I yield.